Hi everyone. So yeah, I'm Herman Rivera. I'm originally from Puerto Rico until I ventured to Miami Art School in Miami, where that's what I call my base school, Miami. Obviously, as people were saying, that Nomad program, which had another name when I studied, was great, and I really took advantage of it. I went to Amsterdam, I went to Madrid. I did a quarter away where I fell in love with Spain. And then I went to New York. That's where I ended up graduating and eventually got a job there at Droga 5, which I imagine most of you know. And that's where I settled in and I grew and I made a little bit of a name. Uh, then I went to a small agency where we're like just four creatives. And that's where I had the most fun, to be honest. And then I just made a life choice. I wanted to come to Spain. I just loved it, and I moved to Spain with no job and started knocking on doors. And actually, funny enough, the director of Miami Art School Spain helped out quite a lot and got me in contact with a few agencies, and one of them was Lola. And it was just everyone just it was a happy coincidence. They needed someone like me. I needed an agency like them, and here I am in Madrid. Super happy, and now I'm also teaching whenever I get a chance because of a lot of work. But it's always super fun giving back and teaching and seeing you guys' ideas and your potential. But now that's me. So I'm a Lola. I'm a copywriter, so that's my trade. So if you ever have a class with me, that's probably most of what we'll be doing. A lot of ideas first, like always in Miami Art School, but copywriting is my the one of the two crafts, my specialty, let's say. And then Lola. So a lot of you I've heard are interested in Lola and are still thinking about if this is the right decision for you or not. I think what is Lola, what we're looking for. So I think I'll start with what we're looking for. If you already made the decision that you want to come to Lola, maybe give you a few pointers of what will help you, give you an edge and who looks at your book and all that. So I think Lola follows a lot the mantra of Miami Art School, where ideas go first. It's as simple as that. I think it's not you're not gonna get into Lola because you have great headlines or just because you have beautiful art direction. I think at Lola, it is one of those agencies that they look at especially at the intern level, right? And the nomad experience, where we want to have people that can, when we're tight on time and we need to get something out the door, we're very, very a small agency. For the amount of clients and where we have, we are a small agency. And we look for interns that can really contribute. And I'm gonna speak about that a little bit later. But interns work on real campaigns, sometimes that are really, really fast, and some interns walk out the door after 10 weeks with work or big campaigns. And I'm actually gonna show you one towards the end. And then Lola, again, since it is small, if we're looking at books and they're similar, let's say in quality of ideas, the craft is definitely going to come into play, especially for art directors. A lot of the work that comes out of Lola goes through a lot of eyes internally, that just, even if people don't see it because they don't have that that artistic eye, like I think that's going to give you an edge, the craft. So just, if you can, whenever, at least your first three pieces, make sure they're tight, they look good, there's no typos, there's no in art direction, they're some of your top work. If you have a board, make that board look good. And another thing that's going to really, really help, which I think the good part and the bad part about Lola, I look at books first. I try and show as much as I can to the creative director, but he, at the end of the day, who looks at the books is the ECD, the executive creative director at Lola, and he's a huge deal. Tommaso Stiglia, he's really, really big. You can look him up, and he looks at every book. And I basically give him my opinion. I tell him these are the teams I think work for these accounts. Maybe we move them around, but then he can totally disregard what I say. So I kind of try and steer him one way, and that might work, that might not. So that is why sometimes we take a lot of time, because he doesn't have a lot of time, and he has to look at it at the book. So if you get into Lola, you can rest assured that he's looked at your book and seen your work, and he's approved of you. So that's already, like people are saying, that's a contact that you already start having. You have these big contacts thanks to Miami Art School. But yeah, so he doesn't have a lot of time. So I would suggest your first 3 campaigns, make them your top for sure, because he might not get past that. And don't have three videos that are your first 3 campaigns. I would suggest don't make them be long case studies. And if you have a case study and that's that long and it's your best idea, always have a board just in case he's tight for time. And this is not just for Tomas. I think this applies for many agencies. Like, always have a board, because if they're tight on time, they're at least going to look at the board, the headline, like whatever the idea is, real quick, be like, I like that idea. I don't need to see anymore. They'll go to the next project. I like that idea. Third one. If they like 3 projects like that in 60 seconds, that's it. Then maybe they'll go back and look at it with more detail. But it's really important that I think case studies, the main problem is when we make them for awards, we probably spend 30, 35, 40 seconds in the setup. And in 40 seconds, a creative director can look at 2 or 3 ideas and know if he likes them or not. And if he likes them, he'll spend more time on them. But if he doesn't, he might just get bored of your book and move on. So that's as far as if you can craft your book and you're looking to get into Lola, that'll help you a lot. And probably for many agencies, to be honest. Let's see. Another thing for Lola that will definitely help you. It doesn't mean you can't get into Lola otherwise, but it does help if you come with your partner, dupla, right? If you're a copywriter and you already have an art director that you think, you have some projects together and you sync and you can work together, definitely apply with them. That's always a plus, because then we can just have that team and move them around as a team and have them work on projects versus putting them together. And in 10 weeks, sometimes, again, we're rushing, trying to get projects out the door, and seeing if people work together in 10 weeks, you lose half of the time, right? In 4 weeks, you're like, oh, maybe they don't work together. Then let's change it up. And you already lost half of your internship. But that doesn't mean that, there's been interns that have come to Lola and they haven't had partners and they've worked together really well. So, and let's see what else. So what is the experience at Lola like, right? Some agencies, you might not get so lucky. Here again, since we're so small, you really work on briefs, on real briefs. You're gonna work on acts. Right now, we're a lot of the current interns at Lola are working on acts for Mexico, on acts for USA, acts for Europe. There's a lot of acts. We're working on Magnum for Italy, Magnum ice cream. For those of you that maybe don't know Magnum, but Magnum for Europe, Magnum for Italy, Magnum for Spain, for British, Holland. Basically, we have the global Magnum account. We do a lot of work for Europe, and then for different markets inside Europe as well. And we just won Uber Eats locally, but it's a huge campaign as well, a huge brand, Uber Eats in Spain and Portugal. And right now, like a few hours ago, or well, probably right now, we have interns working on all of those brands. So if you get into Lola, you're going to work on real briefs, and we're not talking about just social posts or headlines. We're going to work on activations. We're going to work on how can we get on the press, how can we get PR. It's real, and you can ask almost any intern that's been at Lola and they've had the chance. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but that's a little bit the nature of our work, that sometimes you have the great idea and it doesn't happen because of many things, but you are going to get the chance. You're going to get the chance and you're going to get the briefs. And even if the work doesn't happen, if your ideas are good, you're gonna get noticed, and you're probably gonna get hired. So I mean, when you finish Miami at school, or when you're ready to come to Spain if you're not from Spain. And then finally, Lola, what's great about Lola, right? Not a lot of people know this, but Lola actually stands for Low Latina. So basically the Latin version of Low, and which is now MullenLowe. But in back in the day, basically the idea was to get the Latin culture and way of doing things into Europe and mixing it up. And they thought that if you got this way of thinking from Latin America into the European market with Europeans, it just created like a whole new dynamic. And why do I say this? Because, you know, at Lola, you work with international people, and I think that's the biggest difference in what makes this agency in Spain so different from other agencies in Spain. Is you work with people right now on the team. We have people from Argentina, Brazil, US, Portugal, Holland, from Britain, and they're Polish. So I think that really changes it up, and it feels like you're working at a big agency in New York, especially an international one. And again, we work on markets like United States, for Europe, Latin America, Asia. We work on different markets for different brands, so you never know what you're gonna get. As far as offices, we are going back. The plan is to go back in September, maybe. We're not sure yet. But right now, everything is remote. And even if you can go to the agency if you want, it is open Monday through Thursday. And when we go back, we're not going back full time, where it's gonna be like a few days, or or maybe one day goes half of the team, the other day the other half. But there is a physical location that you can already visit, and, you know, be with the people and meet the ECDs and all the big shots.
Hi, I have a question about the agencies in Spain. Is language barrier a concern at all?
Hi. So speaking from Lola, everyone at the agency speaks English, and I would say I don't like working in Spanish. I'm not that great, so I don't think it's a barrier, and I think probably even someone that doesn't speak Spanish might get more out of the Spain experience, not just Lola. One of the guys also from Mexico was asking, I think one thing we might have to figure out during the pandemic, there was a time where we took in some students, and the time difference was so big. They were obviously, there was a huge time difference, and they couldn't travel, and that didn't work out. So if the case is that there's a time difference because someone can't come to Spain, or a similar time difference, it is something we should, you know, talk about directly with the school and with the agency and see, because there is a handicap, and you know, sometimes we have to get work done. So I do think, for me, the only barrier right now, it is time difference. If it is too big, I mean, I'm not gonna ask you to wake up at 2 a.m. to start working, or 3 a.m. or to keep working at 4 a.m. So yeah, but language barrier, I think, is definitely not a barrier at Lola.
Colombia is a country with the 4th highest number of bullying cases in the world. It's time to stand together and raise our voices. Pony Malta, the #1 beverage among Colombian teens, presents Beat the Bullying. The best freestylers in Latin America is cyberbullying. We opened up our channels to hear the messages of hate from the victims and answered them in real time.
Hey colombiano, me da asco tu país. Debe ser que no ha probado el encocado ni la arepa de maíz.
Yo no creo en la vida suicida. Yo pienso que la palabra tiene que dar vida.
You're so ugly, you ain't ugly, my G. It depends on the eyes that decide to see. No importa, no tienes que ser perfecto. Hasta el más bello le critican sus defectos.
The media also raised their voice to help us win the fight.
Beat the Bullying, una artista colombiana que hace parte de esta iniciativa. Beat the Bullying, tema con un poderoso mensaje.
Generating more than 80 million impressions on social media. Yeah.
Que nadie diga cuánto merezco, que solo yo conozco el valor de
And reaching over 10 million people across several platforms. The Colombian government joined forces with Beat the Bullying.
Nos unimos a la iniciativa contra el ciberacoso.
Teams from Colombia and around the world joined us at speed. As the campaign was trending topic for 3 days nationwide, making it the most watched branded stream in Colombia ever. With all the responses from the freestylers, we created an anthem to fight for cyberbullying. The track later made it into the list of the top 10 most streamed songs in Latin America. And a lot more artists joined the movement, giving us the chance to create the first album directed to fight cyberbullying.
No permita que alguien te haga sentir mal.
Not only did we make the music industry look our way, but for the first time, millions chose the same side in a freestyle battle, proving that words well used hit harder than hatred. Beat the bullying.
That was the longest one. Sorry, that case study is still pretty fresh. So that one, yeah. So basically the #1 soda brand in Colombia called us. We don't usually work with Colombia, and it was quite a surprise, and the interns got a shot at it, and their idea went through. Like, let's use freestylers to kind of respond to hatred. So bullying. Okay, let me see. You're saying, let me see if I can get the audio from the computer real quick. Okay, let's see if the audio works a little better now. So this one's for Axe. This one you might have seen indoor ads, and hope the audio sounds a little bit better. Okay, so pretty simple. Instead of an outdoor campaign, the first indoor campaign, and anyone could become an influencer, if you will, and get paid by Axe. And then our final one, Magnum, because it is one of our biggest clients and one that we always have like 10 projects on the table. So if you come to Lola, you'll probably work on some Magnum. And you've probably seen that this was also during lockdown, but just these all ideas I chose because they're pretty recent, they're fresh, they're new, and it is that type of idea that you're gonna work at Lola, and the type of idea that if you think about, if you come up with this idea, we'll make it and sell it. Like our team is great at selling anything that's really good. So last one. So, yeah, I mean, if you're not too familiar with Magnum, maybe that case study was missing one part where it explained that there is this icon for Magnum, the silhouette of the ice cream that we use on, that is like, we're building almost like Coke did with the silhouette of the bottle. So for Magnum ice cream, we want that icon to be a symbol of pleasure in Magnum. So in that case, it was the center of all the towels, and it is in all of Magnum's work from, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And we're working on just building that icon. It's beautiful, it's fashion, it's very art director heavy. So we have a little bit of everything. There's at Lola, there's a diversity in work, diversity in people, and that's it. I'm not gonna speak anymore. If there's any questions, feel free to ask. If not, I guess we can move on to whatever's next.